All right, guys, Crypto Cowboys back today. We got a special guest, Mr. Matt Marino, and he's going to walk us through on what he's been doing as far as cryptocurrency mining, the rigs that he set up, and all that stuff. Real quick before we get started, make sure you guys, we set up a Steemit account. It's steemit.com @CryptoCowboys. So make sure to check that out. We'll put a link in the description. So, Matt, go ahead and tell us, how you got into cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and just a little bit about your background here.
All right. Well, I've been around Bitcoin for a while. Many years ago, I had friends that were using it for certain nefarious purposes. So I've always kind of heard about it, knew about it. And I think even like 5 years ago, I tried to mine Bitcoin with my old computer, but never really could figure it out, and I just kind of gave it up until recently. I had a buddy, talking about how he was day trading on Binance, and so beginning of December, I started to kind of invest some time and money, a lot of time, and probably this past maybe month now, I've been mining coins. I started using my old gaming computer I bought when I was 17. I think it cost me about $2,000 at the time just for the tower, and throughout the years, I've just been upgrading certain components in it, mainly graphics cards, because those are the ones that kind of grow the fastest. But it still has some of the original components from 10 years ago, and I just had to buy some new graphics cards for it to get it mining pretty efficiently. And right now,
so what you're saying is so anybody with an older computer, as long as they upgrade the graphics cards on certain coins, like we talked about, you can start mining. And what are you making a day approximately off of?
So this computer right here in the garage, my old computer, I put about $1,400 worth of graphics cards. With about 3 graphics cards, and it's earning of actual payout, not prediction. I'm getting about 110 Verge a day, so at 10 cents a coin, it's about $11 a day, about $330 a month of Verge.
Right, and so for the people listening, that may not sound like a lot of money, but like we talked about earlier, the real profit is accumulating the coins in the hopes that the price continues to increase. Because Verge right now is about 10 cents, I believe, right. And if that thing shoots up to $1, $2. You just 10x your money.
Yeah, it's already seen over 20 cents. So that $330 a month, can very likely be, over $600 a month if it just goes back up to its last high.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of people that make their money mining, it's not so much. Even though mining the coin at its current value is profitable, even though I spent $1,400 within 6 months, I'll have made that money back as long as nothing, I don't lose a graphics card or whatever. But yeah, if the price even goes up to 20 cents, 30 cents, it's a win-win.
Right. Now, how did you have a ton of experience with computers before? Did you kind of just figure this out through YouTube and tutorials? Or?
No, I definitely had a good amount of. I was a little bit of a nerd growing up. I played a lot of video games. I've been taking apart my computer since I can remember, and was kind of around it at a young age. My dad had a good friend of his who was working in that business, so he used to always come to the house and show us new games and would always kind of help us anytime we had a computer problem. So we kind of learned a lot from him. And it's always been something that was kind of a passion of mine that I kind of let go as I got older, But so part of it kind of came natural as far as, building computers and getting the graphics cards, to sync well. As far as learning how to mine, that was kind of a new thing, but there's a ton of information on YouTube, and there's a lot of programs that kind of make it a little bit easier now to do, that kind of set everything up for you. But it still takes a little bit of, brain power to figure out. It's still not to the point where just average, I think, layman can just, start doing it.
Well, the whole industry in general takes a lot of bit of brain power just because it's it's just so new to everybody, and
right.
It's learning how to think about it all to really understand it. Why don't you go ahead and just show us the rig and for people that don't know.
So now, typically, you wouldn't want to build a mining rig in a desktop computer like this, just because you can't really fit all the graphics cards inside there properly. Let's see here. So you have one graphics card that's right out here that's kind of outside the computer, and then there's one right up here, and then one below it right down here. But you can buy a specialized case where you can fit like 6 graphics cards all lined up nice, and have a fan for each one. That way, it keeps them nice and cool. I'm just kind of winging it here just with what I have to keep expenses down. But most of the stuff in here, like this memory, is DDR2. They have DDR4 or higher now memory. The processor is an ancient, really old. But yeah, it's doing the trick. And here's what the console looks like. I'm not sure if you can see that well. But so every little yes, that's kind of like a share that I got, and then it shows my total hashing power, which is about almost 28 MHS between those three cards. And so now, depending on what algorithm you're mining, the hashes mean something different. 20 MHS on this algorithm isn't the same as 20 MHS on another algorithm. It's not going to net you the same amount of coins. So
right. Now, we talked earlier, you're doing Verge, you're doing Ethereum. Now, for people that want to, most people have heard about Bitcoin to some extent.
Right.
You've said that now because there's so much competition that a lot of, you kind of got to step up and get a more professional setup.
Right. Yeah. So as coins become more popular, and more people are putting their processing power towards mining that coin, you're going to need more power to get a piece. And so you have these companies that are making miners specifically for certain coins, like they've done with Bitcoin, and that's why you can no longer mine it with graphics cards, because there's specialized miners. ASIC miners is the term, and I think with Bitcoin, Antminer or Bitmain or some of the brand names, and they produce so much power in mining Bitcoin that even a computer with 6 graphics cards can't really compete.
Right.
Is not going to be able to find a block or solve a block faster than one of these supercomputers. But it's definitely not, it doesn't mean that you can't still mine Bitcoin, just costs a little bit more money to get started.
Right.
But it's still doable and still very profitable too.
Well, what's funny to me is like when I first, started looking at mining, I was just blown away at really how simple in terms of, it's not like some grandiose, computer. It's literally just a basic computer with some graphic cards, and if you hook it up correctly, you can rock and roll. And that's where the real opportunity is. Like we were talking earlier, again, at some point there's gonna be so much competition where you're gonna have to get, the professional setup. So if you can get something going today, before the masses get in, there's obviously that's where the biggest opportunity's at.
Right. No, for sure.
So, Rock, do you got any questions?
Let's talk about a little bit about your background, man. You first told me about Bitcoin. I think it must have been about 2012, 2013. Is that right?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
And you were telling me you had some friends that were kind of into the dark web side of it, and I remember just thinking, man, what is this? And I was trying to ask you a question, trying to get like a handle on Bitcoin. I couldn't get it, and a lot of people are still at that place today. So.
Yeah,
you kind of give us a quick rundown there, but tell us like what led you back into it. Like you knew about it, but what led you into it to purposes of investing?
Yeah, I guess it was so actually one of the first kids that got me involved with it back then when I was telling you about it. He had recently messaged me and kind of showed me about or showed me Binance, one of the daily exchanges where you can get some of the smaller coins. But even before that, I had another buddy that I met here that's been using Bitcoin for online transactions. And then so that got me thinking about it again, because we were seeing some of the price swings and how he put some money in there. And then 2 days later, it's either went up, 20-30%, or went down 20-30%. And so it's just kind of, throughout the years, it's been brought back into my life kind of slowly. And then, a couple months ago, I just decided I'm going to try to get involved and started kind of really doing my own research. And the more that I, learned, the more I decided that this definitely isn't going anywhere. And the sooner you get in, the better.
Yeah, tell us why you think that. Why isn't it going anywhere?
Well, because the whole drug. People can say what they want about this, but the whole drug trade relies on cryptocurrency. That's what made Bitcoin so big. As a lot of people don't realize is there's a lot of money that gets pumped into the dark web. And so that's kind of the backbone of this whole thing. But now, now legitimate companies are using the technology, but it's still always going to be the backbone of the drug trade, whether people want to believe that or not. And that's one reason it's not going anywhere.
Right. Right.
And a lot of people don't realize, it's more than just a currency. It's the technology, it's the algorithm. It's there's so much more than just I'm trading you a digital, coin.
Yeah. It's a very fair system, unbiased system, very transparent. It just kind of shows how good an economy could be when you don't have so much government, hands in it. When it's just run by the people and everyone's on kind of the same page.
It freaks a lot of people out, though, to think that it's being used for bad things, but then it's a good system. That doesn't make sense to people.
But, so is regular money, too. You're going to see that in anything like this. People are going to use it for their own nefarious purposes. With any currency. But it's definitely not a reason to not get involved, especially now that it's being picked up by so much so many other legitimate companies and used for legitimate purposes other than the dark web.
Hey, Matt, you're not the average nerd. You can't really see you right there, but Matt's like, he's, I don't know how much you weigh, 220 pounds of muscle. This guy's like commercial.
I'm my heaviest. I'm like about soaking wet 200 right now.
Are you? Oh, so you're down a little bit, but you're still lean and mean.
Yeah, all this mining has made me a little weak, but
you got to set the gym up in the garage as you mine.
Yeah, right.
I mean, so a guy like you, like you're a fitness guy. I mean, you're into Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm a personal trainer by trade. Competitive mixed martial artist.
Now, what did your parents think when you first set up the mining rig?
Well, I mean, I did all this on kind of took a loan out. So I applied for a few credit cards I don't have to pay off for, 15 months, 20 months without interest. So I kind of looked at it as like a business investment. And then when they kind of found out how much money I was spending, they thought I was kind of crazy until they started to see how much money these computers are producing. And, theoretically, if everything goes smoothly, all those cards will be paid off, within 6-7 months. So instead of, going to a bank and trying to get a loan that way, I figured I'd just use my credit that I built up over the years and try to just go with it. And it's kind of sink or swim, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And again, I feel like even if money's lost,
it's not real.
if you can just learn, you're in 2-3 years, you're going to be so far ahead of everybody else. And eventually you will, make money,
even
the average person.
Even the extreme case scenario, which obviously this is not my plan, but let's say, you invest a bunch of credit money into cryptocurrency and end up having to file bankruptcy. Well, you still have a ton of assets in digital currency that, no one knows is there. I mean, it is, sketchy as that would be and whatever, it takes out for some people that mitigates a lot of the risk, knowing that they're, even if they can't end up paying their bills, they still have, digital assets or, technological assets that can earn them money.
Right. Exactly.
Now we're trying to get kind of the scoop on just different people from different backgrounds and stuff. So it's fascinating to hear like how your thought process going through this, Yeah, I know you're super smart.
Don't get me wrong. That's definitely not. I definitely don't want to have to go down that route. I don't think I'm going to have to. But it's just a thought that came up as I was thinking up through this whole thing. Even if it did happen where I couldn't pay my bills, well, I have a ton of my money's protected essentially.
Exactly. What do you think the future of Bitcoin, the bigger picture? Where do you think that Bitcoin is leading the development of just future technology and all that? Like, where's this taking us?
I mean, it's hard to say, but I think it's going to change the whole landscape of the world. I mean, they're talking about it being able to bring power to remote places, and I think it's going to connect the world in a much faster way, and we're going to see even a bigger boom in technology and more than we've seen, which sounds crazy because it's grown so fast already. But it's kind of almost like a modern day, Tower of Babel kind of thing. Like we're getting so connected and it, some people say it's kind of scary and I think maybe it is ushering in the end time scenario, which I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Ultimately, it's all what we really want. It's Return of the King. So, I don't try to put, a label on it as good or evil or whatever. It's just all part of the, I think big part of the end plan. But yeah.
So it's like developing in some ways like a digital world.
Yeah.
People are being more and more interconnected too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's kind of almost becoming like an underground economy and way of doing business almost.
Well, I forgot the name of the coin, Rock. You may remember, but it's a whole coin based around basically just that. You can go in there. It's like Sim City, but you can go in and live in the digital world and create a house, create a pet store, create whatever you want. And people don't realize that's going to be a whole economic boom in that. Of you plug in, you escape, you go to go to the ski resort online, and you have a business, and people come in and they pay you with Bitcoin for that service.
There's even one coin where it's going to be tied to a big open world video game, like space exploration game, and you can sell the materials that you gain in this game or the things that you build for their coin, and then exchange that for real cash. So they're going to start tying this stuff to these coins, all sorts of things. But that sounded like a cool cool concept because there's already a lot of games like that where they have their own kind of currency where you can use fiat money and buy the in-game currency, and there's a big market for that kind of stuff. People spend a lot of money on those kind of games, and
it's like gaming coming into the everyday practical world, right? That's kind of what's happening.
Yeah, in a way, for sure. Yeah.
And that's why there's all these young millionaires, because they're good gamers, and then all of a sudden, they find that they're good at this.
Right. Yeah. And then as far as mining goes, I mean, the same graphics cards that you mine on are also the best graphics cards for playing high-end video games with awesome graphics. So that's kind of a perk, I guess, if you're.
The coin you're talking about was I don't know what the coin is, but it was the Rock Trading Company. And before you told me about Bitcoin, Matt, my kids told me about some game back in the late 2000s called Second Life.
Okay.
And so I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. They showed me how go in, you have an avatar, and you live your own different kind of life.
Yeah.
And so I come across this Rock Trading Company. And I realized it's the same company. Now they're into Bitcoin. I think they were always going down this road because they knew this was coming.
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard of that. I think I actually stepped foot in that game for a brief period and just to kind of check it out, but never really played it much.
Yeah, well, now I see that there's like games like that, like you were saying, that are at completely higher levels.
Yeah.
People can become something different, and fits right into the culture that we're living in today. People are trying to escape.
Yeah. For sure.
Exactly. So what do you say like to the bankers and people like that that say, this isn't real? Maybe it is escapist, maybe it's fringe out here.
No, I mean, well, the bankers are against it because all the banks are being robbed right now. I mean, there's so many people that are dumping money into this, without doing their research, and like people taking out mortgages and then putting it into Bitcoin when it's at a high and then selling off at a 50% loss. Well, now these banks are out of that money because this person's not going to be able to pay that debt. So I think the banks are anti-Bitcoin because essentially this is stealing their wealth. In the big picture, there's tons of people, dumping their fiat currency into this market, and I know even in Australia, there's some banks that are kind of cutting off people's accounts that are doing this and stopping them from being able to move their money into the crypto market. So I think that's mostly propaganda coming from the powers that be to get people to not put their money into this market.
Well, I think they're scared, and no one really knows, what to do or how it's going to evolve or the effects of everything. And so I think the banking system is trying to get control to some extent of it.
Oh, for sure.
So
it's
going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. Sorry, go ahead, Rock.
We wanted you to just give us insights into mining because you're a guy we know that does it. So, what are your thoughts on the future of mining? Like, where's that going?
I think it's something that's necessary because without mining, none of this stuff works. I mean, the miners are what kind of power this whole thing. So, as coins grow in value and people want more of them, you're going to see more people mining it. And it's kind of like I was telling Jordan before, it's an organization that grows itself. When a coin demands more power to move their transactions, well, it's going to increase in value, and then more people are going to mine it. So that they're kind of growing their network organically. Whereas, on a regular bank, if they get so big, well, then they have to, acquire more finances and see how they're going to build their computing power that way. With cryptocurrency, it kind of grows itself. There's no need for that because if a coin's going to go up in value, it's going to attract more people to mine it, which is going to add to the processing power to be able to send those transactions back and forth as that coin grows. The mining is to learn all the intricate details, it's kind of really mind-racking. But from what I gathered, as far as mining Bitcoin anyways, other coins are a little bit different, but they take the last 100 pending transactions and kind of formulate it into this mathematical algorithm. And then, all these users or miners compete to try to solve the equation. And then the person that solves it, they get, an extra reward for solving it. But then all the other miners will validate that info to make sure that everything's correct. And it'll go through a certain amount of confirmations. And then they'll get paid out on doing that other work, but just they won't get the big portion for solving the actual riddle or problem. So that's kind of what's happening.
So there's multiple ways to kind of make some piece of the pie. Because now, correct me if I'm wrong, even like if I send Bitcoin to you and you're a miner, all right, let's say I send Bitcoin to Rocky and you're a back-end miner, do they pay you on the transactions as well?
So yeah, there has to be, in order to get paid, there has to be work. There has to be pending transactions, but it's not I don't believe it's a rate dependent on how much money is sent necessarily. I think it's kind of like I mean that stuff I'm still learning. But that's a good question. I wouldn't be able to tell you. Like if I'm sending a big amount, will that miner get paid more because he's dealing with a transaction that's a higher amount? I don't think so. I think it's just for the amount of work the miner has to do, which doesn't change if someone's sending $1 million versus $10,000. I think it's per transaction, not how valuable the transaction is.
Right. Now, because I know obviously coins are different. They've got a different code basically.
Yeah.
With Bitcoin, the transaction fees have just freaking skyrocketed, which is why a lot of people, are using things like Litecoin to exchange.
Right.
Verge is, how is that written? Where do the transactions fees to continue to increase, or is it more like Neo?
I think since it's gone from 2 cents to 10 cents now, it's become a little bit harder to mine. People are saying they're not getting as many coins as they were, which is reasonable because it's seen such a big gain. The nice thing about mining Verge is it transacts very quickly. So just in a matter of a few hours of mining, you're already getting deposits into your wallet. Whereas some other coins, since they're so slow, it takes a couple of days before you even see a single payout. So even mining certain coins, you can kind of see how they differ in their technology based on the speed of how they work and how quickly they pay out. But it seems that in the mining community, Verge is one of the hottest coins being mined right now out of all the other altcoins. Every pool, it's all the pools are full and constantly to the max when it comes to mining Verge. And I think it's because it's just so easy to do and it pays out so quickly. Really anybody can set up to mine Verge. All you need is a NVIDIA graphics card.
Now Verge, the coin itself, it's unlike Bitcoin. It's more secure. It's less traceable. Is that what it is? Yeah.
So they have when you download their core wallet that hooks up directly to the blockchain, you can create addresses with a stealth address. You have that option, so that way it adds like another layer of anonymity to that address, which right now nobody can trace back where that came from. But it's also a very fast transacting coin. I think it's one of the fastest, and it's very cheap to transact as well. It's very low fees. So those three things make it a great coin, regardless if it has doesn't have too many places where you can actually use it to purchase things yet. What a lot of people think is it's going to be it's going to overtake Monero, which is now the coin being used on the dark web that overtook Bitcoin. But Monero has already had some privacy breaches, so people are saying that Verge will be the next Monero, and Monero has an infinite coin supply and it's trading over $300 a coin. Verge has a limited. What's that?
I didn't know Monero had an infinite coin supply.
Yeah, so that's what's crazy. People say that Verge will never see this much because you can only mine this many. I forget the number. It's like a few trillion or whatever it is. If they get picked up by the dark web, they're going to even see a higher price than Monero because they have a capped coin supply.
Right.
So which coins are people in the dark web like? What are they using the most?
I think right now Monero is the big one. Monero, you got Zcash. Those are the two big ones. I think Zcash is at like $400, $500 a coin. Monero is at like $350. But Monero I think is the number one on most of those sites from what I've read.
And that's just because those two are more untraceable than other coins.
Yeah, untraceable. I think lesser, smaller fees too than Bitcoin probably.
And I'm just to add a side note. What people don't realize is, if the coin's $350, you don't have to buy the whole coin. You can buy $5 worth, you can buy $10 worth, or you can buy, a whole coin if you want to. But so don't think, if you want to get started cryptocurrency, Bitcoin's $10,000, I got to spend $10,000. No, you can spend whatever you want.
I think that was my misunderstanding when I was younger and I was trying to mine Bitcoin. I was like, I'm only going to get such a small piece. It's going to take forever until I get a whole coin. I didn't realize that you can get paid out on, fractions of a coin and still use those. But yeah, that's definitely a good point.
And that was my biggest misunderstanding too, because you equate it to a stock. You can't go buy a quarter of a stock, 1% of a stock. So, so again, that's just another misconception out there that people haven't done any research on.
What's cool about the mining is it says it's not just generating income; it's generating investment income. It's automatically that income that's generating, it's automatically in things that can grow and increase in value.
Right.
So it's not just something that's earning me $300 a month. It's earning me $300 a month.
What about the electricity situation?
Yeah, electricity. It's, a lot of people think like, oh, well, it doesn't use so much power, that's not going to be profitable. I'm like, well, if that was the case, then nobody would do it. But they estimate it to be about 10% of your earnings. So like this computer here is probably maybe using about like 400, 500 watts in total.
Yeah.
And there's some calculators you can go online and kind of put that in and see what your monthly cost is going to be versus your profit. But yeah, it's a small piece of what you're going to make, 10% at most. But ultimately, I've been thinking about maybe coming up with some sort of solar solution. Living in Arizona, you get so much sunshine this summer that'd be the end game.
Well, and this is why I believe cryptocurrency, the technology behind it, is going to boost better technologies like solar power. Solar power has been around since I was a kid, but no one's ever really been able to make it effective. And I think, what's now, because there's so much of a need and demand for it, you're going to see solar power actually, go light years ahead in the next 3-5 years than it's ever been because people are actually going to be investing in it heavily.
Yeah.
Which is going to help everybody, not just cryptocurrency people.
Some people say in not too near future we're headed to free electricity. It's going to be so easily accessible and widely available that we're going to need to have to pay for it. Maybe the next 20-30 years. But
isn't there a Tesla coin?
What's that?
Isn't there a Tesla coin? We're talking about
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well,
you got any more questions for him, Rock?
Oh man, I mostly just want to catch up with Matt, so I want to jump into this interview with you guys. You guys are the experts, not me. But give us a bottom line before you go, Matt, about if somebody wants to start mining Verge. What's the breakdown? What's it going to cost them?
I mean, it all depends if you already have a computer. If you have one of those computers that's kind of the computer inside the monitor all in one, you're probably not going to have the ability to put a graphics card in there. You kind of want like your just traditional desktop tower computer. And most of those have at least one slot. It's called a PCI Express slot, PCI 3.0, which can take one of those graphics cards. And for Verge, you want, the two big competitors are AMD and NVIDIA. The AMD cards are a little bit cheaper, but they're kind of harder to get going and to figure out. The NVIDIA cards are more plug and play. And, even NVIDIA card that's, a couple $100, $200 can still net you maybe, $50 a month in Verge. But if you only have one slot in your computer, I would go and get the best graphics card you can, either an NVIDIA 1060, 1070, or the 1080, and make the most of it. But yeah, anywhere from $200 to $1,000 you can spend on a graphics card. But
and then once you get the equipment, you just what website? How do you actually plug into the mining system?
Yeah, so if you go to Verge's website, they'll give you a link for different pools you can mine on, which those pools you can also mine other coins. But they'll show you all the different algorithms that Verge is mined on and all the different pool links. Then I use a program called Awesome Miner. You go to awesomeminer.com, and it's kind of like a one program that combines all the different miners together. And so you select, okay, I'm going to mine Verge, and then I have an NVIDIA graphics card, so it'll show you a list of miners that you can use. You select that miner, and then you just have to enter the pool info. So it's kind of like the URL plus a port number, and then your username. You just put your address, that address for the coin that you're mining, and then you just start it up. And maybe at some point I can show kind of a little tutorial how to do that or whatever. With Verge, it's pretty easy. Some of the other coins, it's a little bit mind racking to try to figure out the right settings to connect to the pool and whatever. But
so once you plug in and start mining, it's pretty much set it, forget it. You check on it a couple times a day, make sure it's still online, rocking and rolling, basically.
Yeah, you just you can actually, what I do is I have all the pools on my phone. You can just browse to the link, and you can monitor your miners on your phone that way. So I don't actually have to even be here. So a few times, like I'll be at work and I'll see my miner freezes or something, and I'll just have my dad come in and he'll reset it and just start it back up again. But that's usually if you're trying to overclock the cards to give them a little bit more power, they're prone to crash, or if they get a little too hot. But I found that if I don't do any of that crazy stuff and I keep them cool, they'll run indefinitely without too much issues.
Cool.
Yeah, so
just keep it consistent.
What's your contact info if somebody wants to get a hold of you and maybe pick your brain?
Maybe email address might be best.
Okay.
It's my full name at gmail.com. It's Matthew with 2 T's, O'Donnell, Odonnell, Marino, Marino at Gmail. That's probably the best way.
Yeah, we'll put that in the comments, that link.
Cool.
But yeah, if anybody else has any questions, you guys can message us here on Facebook or ask in the comments. I learned something today, and I know we're trying to get our rig going, so we'll probably be reaching out to you more.
If you guys need help, man, give me a call or whatever. Figure it out.
I just wish I would have bought Bitcoin when Matt told me about it, dude. I wouldn't be here with you guys.
$500 back then, I imagine, maybe like
I'd be on an island somewhere instead of sitting here with you guys.
Yeah. Hey, well, still
big
time.
miss on that one, Matt. But thanks for telling me anyway.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, share. Check out our steemit.com at Crypto Cowboys. So check that out. And
Cool.
Until next time.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Hey, buddy.
All right,
See
man.
you next time.
Have a good one.